Welcome to Cape Fear Business Roundtable. I'm Frank Williams. I'm your host, and today we have Carolyn Moshier with us. Carolyn, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
And before we jump in, I do want to talk about our two sponsors, which are two companies that I am owner and part owner of. The first is Pioneer Strategies, which is a marketing and public relations firm, and we help people with everything from web design to social media marketing to digital advertising, to logo design and traditional PR. So if your business needs help with any of those, give us a call. The sister company is one that my wife and I co-own, and that's Pioneer Specialties. We are a promotional products company, and we have access to over 1 million promotional products from 4,300 suppliers worldwide. And what that means is that we can help you find things you don't even know to look for, and we'll also do all the work so you can focus on running your business. So if you have any questions about those, we'd love to hear from you. And now that that's out of the way, Carolyn, thank you again for joining us. And I've neglected to mention Carolyn's business is Purge Photo Organization and Management. And we'll talk about that in just a moment because that's certainly an interesting business, and you're the only person I know who does that. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But before we do that, I like to ask some more personal questions. And one is, we obviously live in a fast-growing area, and people are moving here from all over the country. So I like to ask people, are you originally from here? And if not, how did you get here and what brought you here?
No, I'm not originally from here. You'll be able to tell by my accent. We came here to Carolina Beach about 10 years ago, and but I'm originally from the New York, New Jersey area,
Okay.
and I lived kind of all over the East Coast, but landed here 10 years ago and love it and will never leave.
And you are certainly one of many. I've got lots of friends who sound more like you than like me. But
Yeah.
we've certainly seen an influx of people, which tells us we've got a great place to live. And the next question is related to that. Obviously, we're all busy with work, and that's what we're here to talk about. But what is your favorite non-work related thing that you like to do in this part of the state?
Oh, okay. So it's actually a three-way tie. I love to go see musicals at Thalian Hall. I also am a big UNCW basketball fan.
Okay.
Both my kids have graduated from there. So I love going to those games during season. And I just love being out on the water by the beach. Those are my three main things I love to do.
We certainly get the beach a lot. You're the first person that I've interviewed to mention Thalian Hall, which kind of surprises me because it's a big thing. And
Yeah, and the shows are
UNCW has
amazing.
UNCW certainly had some good games to watch and some good teams to watch in the last few
Great
years
year.
as well. Well, tell us a little bit about your career journey and about your business, and how you got into this business and what led you to start this and what you do for clients.
So I was an occupational therapist for 25 plus years. Um, and I was getting a little burnout. So I already in the back of my mind was thinking I wanted to do, something else. And I was helping my parents out by, they were their houses were getting ready to sell. They had a condo in Florida and a beach home. So everything needed to kind of, be taken down and organized and decide what we're going to throw
Consolidated.
out, what not. So I did that for my parents. And when I was doing it, everyone was so amazed. I'm like, wow, you can make a business out of this. So literally within 3 months of returning, I did start a home organization business, and it was called Urge to Purge. So, and after doing that for a little bit, I decided to create a niche because I'm a very nostalgic kind of person. I love photos. I was my family historian. I was always the one making the videos for my niece and nephew's graduations or for birthdays. I have a real big family, so I did a lot of those and scrapbooks and things like that. So combining the two, my organization skills and my love for photos and sharing memories, it was a no-brainer, and it was the best decision I made. So now I do Urge to Purge Photo Organization.
And I've often thought about the fact, when I was a kid, we had photo albums. You had paper
Yeah.
photos in a book. And these days, if you lose your phone, you can lose your photos because that's where most people take them. how many people do you see who want to take their digital photos and put them in print? And also, what kind of digital storage options would you have for somebody?
So, but the main things I have that I work on for clients is printed photos,
Okay.
organizing those, like you said, those all those old photo albums that they probably, if you're my age or baby boomer, you've inherited from your parents, and taking those and taking them out of the albums first of all, and then just regular loose photos, going ahead and organizing all those for someone, putting them in a safe storage box so that they can easily find a photo, or several photos in case they want to make a video or a photo book or something. And then I also give them the opportunity, they might want me to scan photos because they want to go completely digital. So I do that and, hand them back an external hard drive with a folder structure of all the organized printed photos that I did. Then on the other hand, if they're coming to me with just digital, we make sure that we gather all their digital because more than likely people have photos on more than one device. They think, oh, it's just my phone, but there's probably some little flash drive somewhere or old SD cards or an old computer that I say, let's get it all, let's not miss anything. So we get it in one hub. And then, yes, I have different software that I use to help me organize it. And again, present it to them. I typically do external hard drive, but you had mentioned online storage, and that's another area that I work on with people. So after their photos are all digitized and organized, I always tell people use a 3-2-1 backup method. That's having 3 copies of your collection, 2 of them on different types of media, and always make sure that one of them is off site, so like a cloud storage or an online storage. So I coach folks, I set them up and coach them into using, there's so many different options right now, so it's hard for people to navigate. So I have certain ones that I work with and I recommend.
Well, obviously you've got a passion for this, and you've already answered this a little bit. You're an organizer, and you also are a nostalgic person. But what else do you love about what you do, and what do you think sets you apart from other ways that people might try to go about doing this?
Well, what I love is the idea that using your photos and preserving your photos is really helps you connect with your family. I don't know anyone who doesn't love, when they sit down and look at home movies. It's just kind of it connects people, gives you the warm fuzzies. I'm all about that. So that's one thing I do love. Plus, my OCD mind, that organizing thing is a good exercise for me. But that's it's just it, and I see how happy people are, you know, when you hand them back the finished project. They're just this relief, they don't have stress anymore about this, and this pleasure they're taking in the fact that they now can easily locate any photo anyone in their family can. They can share with their family more, and when they're gone, their kids aren't going to inherit a photo mess.
And a photo mess is bad enough, but it's amazing how often people have these awesome photos and they don't look at them because they're not organized. And
Yeah.
I was at my dad's house not long ago, and I found a box hidden in a closet of some photos I took 25 years ago, and I'd completely forgotten about some of the people in the photos, pets that were in the photos, and it'll give people a way to access those memories and to
Mm-hmm.
to not forget the things that they've done in the past. And I know I've done that for my dad. I'll give him a photo album at Christmas of what he did that year,
Perfect.
and
Yeah.
it gives him something he can. I have no idea how often he looks at it, but it's something that gives him the opportunity, as you said, something that's a warm fuzzy for him to go look at.
Yeah. And also, it's preserving your family legacy. Um, you know, I found some old photo albums of my dad when he was in the Korean War. It was amazing. And, none of us had ever looked at it. So I scanned all the photos and I made a little folder, and then I sent it off to all my brothers and sisters. and nieces and nephews, and it was, they loved it. It was so something like that too.
And they probably had never seen him. And my dad
Right.
was also in the Korean War, so we
Never
have
see
that
them.
in common. He was in the Army infantry, and that's hard to believe how long ago that was. He's still alive, and he likes to talk about how cold it was in Korea.
Oh.
He says it was 40 below zero some of the places that he had to go, and that does not sound like fun to me. But that's a little bit off topic. But well, obviously you've been in. How long have you been in your business now? I know you were an occupational therapist before that. How long have you had this business?
About 4 years.
About 4 years. And what's something that you've learned while you've been in business that you wish you had known the day you started about being in business?
Probably more of the marketing part of it. The market, as um, you know, a solo person in the business, you have to wear lots of different hats.
Right.
So you have to be educated on lots of different things. And I think I waited a little too long to um, attack the marketing realm and, you know, things to do and not to do. So that I wish I'd done a little bit early, but now that I have the info, it all makes a lot more sense.
And most people, they get into a business and they think, I'm going to be a mechanic. I'm going to work on cars. They don't know they have to be the marketer, the accountant, the facilities manager if they have a building, the janitor, everything else that goes with it.
Yeah.
There's so many different hats that business owners have to wear, and I think that's a lesson we have all learned if we have a business.
Yep.
For me, it was, oh crap, somebody has to do all this accounting work, and that's not what I like to do. Well, what advice would you give somebody who was starting a business that you would give them? Hey, you're getting into business. Here's something you should think about.
My particular business or any business?
Well, let's do both. Your business, but also
Okay.
any business.
Well, for my business, it's a no-brainer. It's originally how I even learned about photo organization is I took a course from a global association called the Photo Managers,
Okay.
and then became a member. And for anyone who's going into photo organization, I think that's a must because you find amazing mentors, amazing educational opportunities. They get you certified. There's also a lot of business tools that they teach you, and it's such a wonderful community. Everyone's so supportive, no matter what level you're at, and it's definitely the first step you want to take.
And I would give that advice to anybody in any business is find your professional association if there is one, because there's somebody who's faced whatever you're facing. There is somebody who's done it. I'm in a public relations group through my business, and I can't tell you how often I go into our Facebook group and first thing I do is search because usually somebody's already asked the question that I have,
Yeah.
and I can find the answer without having to even ask it because it's already there. And if not, if I ask it, I'll get answers, and usually they're pretty good answers. And for my wife's business, there's a promotional products association, but also a Facebook group with several thousand people, and you
Mm-hmm.
will get answers. And most of them are good. There's occasionally the person who just likes to tell you how much they know, but most of the time people just sincerely want to help you, and I think that's so important. There's so many people out there who want to help, and
Yeah.
and then there are things like the community college small business centers. I know we have people here who they don't know how to use Excel, so they go take an Excel class or something that simple at the community college and get the little tips they need to run their business. So, is
Yeah.
there anything else you want to tell our listeners about yourself or your business or anything?
Um, I think something that's important for them to know, um, a couple things. One is you had asked me earlier about what sets me apart, and I think for a photo organizer, or sometimes referred to as a photo manager, we take a personal approach to your photos. I get to know my clients really well. Um, I end up listening to amazing stories about a certain photo or a certain person. And that personal touch is priceless. Rather than sending, all your beloved photos off in the mail to a big, huge company and, they might scan everything, but they're not going to label every file, with specific keywords that are, that you and the client agreed on. So, I think that's important as far as what sets someone like myself, um, sets us apart. Also, for me, I've done a lot of extra training. I am a privacy advocate, which is so I coach people on the cybersecurity awareness as it relates to their photos mainly, but in some general points too, because it's scary what people can do out there.
Especially with AI.
Yeah, yeah. So it's important to educate yourself on that. So I do offer that. But I think one of the most important things that I want people to know about me and my business is I'm all about empowering individuals or groups of people to really think about preserving their photos and revisiting their photos. Um, and the best way to do that is to have them organized. I also coach people if they want to DIY it. But on my website, I have a few new programs that are rolling out this summer. One of them is called Photo Friends, and it's a membership. And there's 3 different levels. There's a free level and then a couple other levels. And what that does is it gives you a lot of benefits in terms of um, free access to information, little guides or tips and strategies. And the other thing is I have a client loyalty program, which is great, and you basically earn points for different things. So say you like a Facebook post of mine, you get a point. If you share it, you get 2 points. If you take a class or a workshop that I offer, you get 10 points, and each point's worth $1. So basically, if you have 50 points, that's $50 you could put towards a project we do together. And then I have a referral program, which also gives you points. So it's all about being involved, diving in. And what I love also is when I said empowering people, teaching. So I'm going to be offering online and in-person workshops and classes that relate to photo organization and some other areas that people are interested in, such as digital estate planning.
And you mentioned your website, and I'm assuming people can find out about all of this on your website. What is that address?
So my website is urgetopurge.org. It's real easy. Just think Urge to Purge Organization, but urgetopurge.org. Yeah. And you can contact me through that, or you're always welcome to call. And that phone number is 770-312-6905.
And and that's certainly a lot of, you're the only person I know who does this, and it's certainly an interesting business. And I think, there's an opportunity people have to preserve their photos that 30 years ago we didn't have. 30 years ago, if you lost your photos, you lost your photos because the digital options to back them up and store them just really weren't there, at least not for the average person. And so I think that's an opportunity for people to preserve their family history, and I would encourage people to reach out to you if they need help doing that.
Definitely.
To close this out with another final personal question, what types of movies or TV shows do you enjoy?
Okay, so I am a crime, true crimes drama series person. So all the NCISs, Hawaii Five-O, all of those fun. I love them. I could binge watch them. However, if I'm in a nostalgic mood, I will turn on Turner Classic Movies, the Turner Classic Movie Channel, and I could even. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but be found watching like The Waltons and Andy Griffith.
There's nothing wrong with that. No, I watched some Gilligan's Island the other day, and
Oh gosh,
that's an old show. I'd forgotten how cheesy it was, but it reminded me of my childhood. And you mentioned the crime shows. My wife and I watched. I think we've watched every NCIS episode. NCIS Los Angeles, New Orleans.
yep.
We have recently started watching reruns of the new SWAT program. Not the old
Oh
one from
yes,
30 years
yes.
ago, but the current SWAT is a really good program.
I
And,
love that. I do
and
watch
we
that.
love Blue Bloods and Chicago PD and all of those. So
Yep, right up my alley.
we watch a lot of the same shows. Well, Carolyn, thank you for joining us, and we certainly appreciate you being on the show, and appreciate everyone who's watching this on YouTube or listening when it's posted on their favorite podcast app. And we hope you'll tune in next week. If you want to follow us, you can visit us at capefearbusiness.com and see past episodes, and also how to follow us on social media or your favorite podcast app. And Carolyn, thank you again for joining.
Thank you for having me. I really loved it.
You're welcome.